back to the Notary Podcast hosted by me, Daniel C. Lewis. I'm so glad to have everyone back this week. This week, we have a very special guest this week, and you're not going to want to miss this podcast. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. We love doing this for you, and we love trying to get the top notaries on here, the top notaries across the country on the podcast. And we're very fortunate today to have one of the top notaries in this country, actually in this world, Sandra St, the March Fong Achievement Award winner for 2024. How you doing today, Sandra?
I'm just great, Daniel. I'm so honored that you wanted to interview me, and I'm just so honored to be able to connect with everyone who's watching out there.
Excellent. I am so happy to get you on here. I wanted to book you ever since I heard that you won the March Fong Achievement Award. And just for our listeners, the March Fong Achievement Award is given annually to the individual who or organization that, in the judgment of the National Notary Association's Executive Committee, has done the most to improve the standards, the image, and the quality of the Office of the Notary Public. Previous recipients of the award included legislators, governors, secretaries of state, attorney generals, notary program administrators, and law school deans. I'm so happy to be able to interview Sandra St. This year as the 2024 Notary March Fong Achievement Award winner. And that's such a huge honor in the notary community. And I just wanted to get down to it. How did you start as a notary, Sandra?
In 1994, I became a commissioned notary in the state of Washington, as I owned 2 mailboxes, etc., stores before they were UPS stores in Vancouver, Washington. And as owners, the store's franchise owners, you had to be a notary because that was one of the profit centers, although there was no profit because you can't charge more than what your state allows you. Anyway, I had to become a notary for that purpose. And so that was 1994. And during that time, the state of Washington did not have any notary training. You applied, you made an application to the state, you purchased a notary bond, you sent your application in, and bang, now you're a notary. And so here I was as a new store owner and an established store offering notary services. And I have to tell you that without notary training, I really felt like it was a stab in the dark, so to speak, if I was doing things correctly. For sure, making accurate notations in my notary journal was sorely lacking. I knew that I needed to list a document that I was signing, that I was notarizing, and they're acknowledging their signature for. And that was great if it was one document. When I started doing loan signings, the clients would bring their documents into the store, and I would go through the documents and notarize what needed to be notarized. And I would notate in my first notary journal that I notarized loan documents. That was it. I didn't have the date and the time and their names, everything great. But what did I notarize? Loan documents. So I knew that I didn't feel good and I didn't feel right or complete just having this hit and miss guess routine about what I was supposed to put in that notary journal. And so I was poking around the internet and found National Notary Association and hit that site and read everything I could read and found out that they had a conference, and I love to go to conferences because I learned so much, and I wanted to connect with other notaries and to be educated. And so in 2002, I attended my first National Notary Association conference, and other than missing because of family illnesses, I've attended every notary conference since then, so that I could become educated and confident in myself as a notary. So that's how I became a notary.
So what you're saying is, when you were doing your work there as in what was it, Mail Express?
Mailboxes, etc., was the franchise,
etc. Mm-hmm. And you just was putting in your journal loan documents. It just occurred to you and said, "Hey, maybe there's a better way to do this thing."
Well, so true. I mean, I didn't realize. I just needed to be educated. That's all. And when I first started going to the conferences in 2002, was at about that same time was when the concept of the notary signing agent was becoming. Mm-hmm. And National Notary Association really, led the way in that. And I believe that as an association, when I joined, I really did feel part of an association. I didn't feel like they were a retail provider and I was just purchasing something. I did feel like it was part of an association. And I think that all of us who were part of NNA at that time are members of NNA, and so interested in doing loan signing, becoming a loan signing agent. We all grew together.
Yes, yes,
we all grew together. I mean, the procedures were refined. The higher expectations and specifications of what a notary signing agent could do and couldn't do were all just kind of liquidy in the beginning, until we started finding out, oh no, we can't do this, or no, doing that, it's a bad outcome. We just all kind of learned together, and I believe that that's really what gave strength to that movement and gave confidence to the notaries public who wanted to become loan signing agents.
So you consider education, getting a good education in the notary world, in the notary industry, is important.
Oh my God, it is absolutely imperative. And I can tell you that what I've experienced, having my own official or papers notarized, when I would go to another notary, whether they were private or whether they were a company notary, and just seeing the lack of knowledge. They were not missing things on the notarial statement because they wanted to. It was because they hadn't been educated. Hadn't been educated. And that's even with, some notaries who have had maybe their company's notary training. Mm-hmm. But I believe that all of that information just has to be, has to be brought to your attention. You have to talk about it. You have to think about it. And that's where joining a notary association that is on top of things, it's a place where you can go. And be part of, and be able to ask questions. There's no stupid questions, and you're not going to be judged by saying, well, well, my sister wanted me to notarize for her. Is that okay? Well, most of it would say, absolutely not. It's family, Well, no, that's not the way it happens. It's like, no, we can't notarize for family members. It's okay. It's okay to not know, and it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to be educated.
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you this. One thing I didn't mention is that you are the inventor and the creator of Privacy Guard, which notaries around the country are using with their journal. How did that come about?
Oh, well, I do have just to give you a little correction that the certificate, the registered name is the Notary Privacy Guard.
The Notary Privacy Guard.
Notary Privacy Guard.
Yes.
That is my registered trademark name. So,
but you're the creator of that. You're the inventor of that.
Well, necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Yes.
Right? Necessity is the mother of invention. Okay, do you want the story?
Yes, I want to know how did you come up with that every notary should be using if they're using a journal?
Well, as a notary signing agent, I filled up my NNA journals pretty quickly. And I guess this was probably back in 2004, maybe. I was at a client's home, and the client was signing in on, entry number 4, I guess, 4 or 5. And so I filled in everything I needed to do, and I turned my book around to her and asked her, to sign there. As she's signing her name, her signature, she's noticing and telling me out loud, oh, there's my neighbor, Mary Sue. I'm just going to make up a name, on line 1. Oh, and by that time, I'd had plenty of experience with notating every document I was notarizing, and to be specific. So if I was doing an entry of a deed of trust, I put how much the deed of trust was for, how many pages, and if there were any addendum to it, right? So that's what was in there. She's saying, oh my gosh, deed of trust for, $350,000 or whatever it was. And then she looks up at me and straight in my eyes, and she says, what kind of interest rate did she get? I just thought, after closing my mouth, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know what I said. Well, number one, I don't know. I wouldn't remember that or whatever. Wow. And I said, and that's confidential information. She said, well, no, there it is. There it is right there in your book. That's okay. I'll see her next week. I'll talk to her about it. And I thought, oh, my heart was just like, because as a signing agent, you are the out of office person for the title company, okay, who contracts with you, or the signing agency that contracts with you. The title company is, they're brought on by the mortgage company or whoever. So it all gets distilled down that the notary signing agent or the notary and that client are at the end of this line of all this great big picture. Mm-hmm. And I am their personal representative. I am the title companies and by de facto, the mortgage companies face-to-face representative.
Yes.
And here I am sharing this information about other clients. I was just blown away by, okay, what kind of liability do I have here? If she talks to Mary Sue and Mary Sue calls and says, how come you're sharing my information? I'll call the title company. Whoa. And so I just made the decision right then and there. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I can't do any more signings unless I can cover up that information.
Yeah.
And so I went home and I put paper on and I put sticky notes on and I put this and I put that. And I mean, yeah, that would kind of work, but everything slid around, blah, blah, blah. So I I don't know. I'm a seamstress, you know. I know how to sew, I know how to make patterns and all of that. And I thought, surely I can figure out something that will cover up that information and that would be um, let me
Easy to
work
use.
on every page
Yeah.
and not have to lift it up to see what's in that column, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, I came up with the device, the Notary Privacy Guard, and you know, made a template for it, and then decided I needed to see if I could patent it. And anyway, I learned a whole lot about um, taking an idea that's in the head. It's
Hmm.
just, you know, ether, and then turning it into a three-dimensional product,
Yeah.
and then finding, you know, what kind of paper stock I wanted, what I wanted to look like, and then to market it and to patent it. And so that's how it came about. And I am I always just felt so good once I started using my product, just knowing that I was not exposing other people's information, because I know that when I had my documents notarized and they were not covering up the other people's information, and likewise they were going to be showing my information to
Yeah.
their next client.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel good about that. So anyway, that's how it came about. That's the long story.
Because the Notary Privacy Guard has been a milestone achievement for safeguarding signers' private information, recording in the journals, according to Steve Bastion of the NNA's Vice President of Product Management and Curriculum Development. Thanks, really love that. So you are definitely a person that really uh, is a advocate for guarding people's personal information and signing information. What do you think? Now, that was back in 2004 when you developed that, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's
Now
when development started.
we are now in 2024 where the internet is very prevalent. What would you tell new notaries that are just starting off that doesn't get, because you said something very important. You got education. You went and sought education. New notaries, now we have Facebook University, we have TikTok College. What would you tell new notaries that are putting affidavits and information on in groups and saying, how do I notarize this? How, how would you give them advice? New notaries that's doing that, that's sharing information like that now.
Um, I would say find a notary who knows more than you do.
Yeah, I agree
And
with that. Yes.
right. And you're right, the internet is wonderful because you can meet so many notaries, you can listen to so many stories. I mean, it's really about real life.
Yeah.
I mean, we can look at a state, you know, notary law book and best practices and everything else, but it's really about, I think, the the more that you can have experience with real life, talking to another notary, you know, who's had real life experiences,
Yes.
and finding somebody that even, you know, a notary buddy.
Yeah.
And there are lots of notary buddies out there. It's the question of, you know, finding it and not being afraid to say, I'd like to have a notary buddy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I might not be able to call the NNA hotline, you know,
Yeah.
because that's a great place
Yes.
to
Yes.
take your problems, not problems, but take your questions. And also, each state no, I don't know if each state has a notary hotline, but you can definitely call
Yeah.
the licensing areas, and they should be able to tell you exactly what you can do in your state. Because especially with loan signing, you may have documents that read differently than
Yeah.
what you learned about. And hey, is this something I can notarize? Or the notarial statement uh, is doesn't fit what your state's notarial statement allows you to do. There have been notary requests that I could not comply with signing using their notarial statement because
Yeah.
it stated things that I couldn't do, that I couldn't sign off to. So anyway, getting answers about that and not being afraid to use an acknowledgement, an all-purpose acknowledgement, because you want to comply with your state's laws. Those are all, I would say, fine tuning your notary skills,
Yeah.
because we don't know that we could do something really until we start hearing, from other people. I think at least that's how it's worked for me.
Yeah.
And every breakout session that I would attend, at an NNA conference, I learned so much from every conference. No matter how long I'd been a notary or how short I'd been a notary, I'm learning.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Since you're definitely, obviously, a big advocate for education, continuous learning, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced as a notary, and how did you overcome them?
I think the biggest challenge was having self-confidence in my abilities. And the other part that I want to mention is the personal refinement of being a professional notary. And a lot of those personal refinements, personality refinements, are not in notary journals, or journal, I'm sorry, but not in notary education.
Yeah.
It comes down to your personal integrity, your wanting to up yourself. You want to be the very best person you can be in any given situation, who happens to be an accomplished notary also.
Yeah.
Because you could do everything right in a notarial situation, but if there are questions about personal integrity, or being able to just kind of stay in your lane when you're meeting with a client, that, when you're learning, this is a client and they're not my new best friend, even if they treat me like I'm their new best friend. And I'm not going to get into a lot of personal conversations. I'm not going to make comments about, oh, wow, what a beautiful blah, blah, blah you have over here. Or, nope. And I think if one is a kind of a naturally friendly person, it's hard sometimes to just rein yourself back in to say, I want to be the most, not businesslike, but I want it to be a real clean transaction with not a lot of fluff that didn't have anything to do with this transaction that I have with this person. So I think that's been the biggest and longest growth area for me.
Because I just did a podcast about this, because I ran into a lot of new notaries, and you mentioned that confidence, building self-confidence. How would you go about telling new notaries how should they build self-confidence if they're coming out of corporate America and they're now leading loan transaction. What ways would you recommend them building self-confidence in that situation?
I think drilling down to the basics of that transaction that the notary public has with the client. If you bring your attention and your intention to that transaction with the client within those boundaries of the notarial act, why you are there. Mm-hmm. You know, I sometimes before I would get out of the car, I would just say to myself and just say a little prayer, help me stay in my lane. Help me be focused on those loan documents and on the information in them. Help me be focused on that instead of the personality exchange. Because, I mean, you want to be a friendly person, or, you know, at least you don't want to be unfriendly, and you don't want to be cold, but you also don't want to be gushy. Yeah. And you never know who you're going to meet. Yeah. I mean, you may have a client who wants to know everything about you, and maybe that's an uncomfortable place for you to be, or they could be, you know, depending on the situation of the transaction, it could be something that's a very sad transaction. And how can I sit in this presence and just stay focused and centered and appropriate. I guess that's what it is, appropriate. And I have to be very cognizant of what I'm walking into, who I'm talking with, and keeping my eye on the ball of just doing the best notarial work that I can do.
Very good. Very good. What do you think, what do you see as the future challenges and opportunities for notaries? What do you think you see?
Oh, my goodness. Well, with remote notarization, with electronic notarization, it's a whole new world out there, I think, for notaries. Yeah. And there are notaries who really want to jump into the fray and, you know, do all the new stuff and, you know, change the notary landscape of what being a notary is in that type of notary work. Or for those of us who, you know, started out with paper and journals and you know, face to face, if that's where we want to be, we can just choose to do our business that way. I don't think that everyone has to do everything. I think that you can really kind of pick and choose. What do I feel comfortable with? Yeah. I know some notaries who they specialize in medical notary. Well, not medical notaries. Those are hospital notaries, but notaries who want to specialize in going to care homes, hospitals, hospice hospitals. That's where their love is. And for the most part, if that's where their love is, they're going to be very successful at it, and they're going to be very not passionate in the sense of being so involved with the story of the notarial transaction, but just to be there to do it well, to be a comfort to people who are in very, very uncomfortable situations. Yeah. So I think that there's such a variety of notarial business tracks that one could take.
Yeah.
And I think that it's the electronic and the remote has definitely opened up a whole new world for notaries, and they're free to partake of it or not. Take your pick.
Yeah. With that said, I know I go in a lot of hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living, long-term care, ortho centers, heart hospitals. And I would need to ask you this because sometimes I ask myself this question: how do you stay motivated and passive? I'm not passive, but passionate about notary work.
I see a notary transaction with a client, a notary public, and the client as it's a very personal experience.
Yeah.
We may never see that person again.
Yeah.
And I may learn a whole lot from that person, or that person may learn a whole lot from me. Yeah. Or I may receive something from that person. They may receive something from me. And for me, it really boils down to just personal experience with people. The connecting with everyday people. We're all just people, right? Yeah. We're all just people. And I consider every notarial transaction that I have as, hey, I met a new person today. And most likely I will come away from that transaction with some gift that I received from that transaction. And I'm always up for that because I love people. I love being with people. I like that connection with people. And I like the appropriate level of connection with people. That's where the exercise comes in. The personality exercise, the heart and the mind and mental exercise, staying appropriate, being appropriate in the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. That motivates and that gives me fuel for that next appointment. I wanted to ask you this too, Sandra. Let me build this up. A couple of months ago, I was in a restaurant with my wife and my sister-in-law, and in the restaurant was a former governor, Mitch Daniels. He was in the restaurant eating, and he had his entourage there. And people, when I was walking in, oh, hey, look over there, there's Mitch Daniels over there. They were pointing and stuff like that. And in 2010, when I was lobbying to get the laws changed here, he happened to be the governor, and I had some conversations with him. That was back in 2010. Fast forward 2024, I'm in a restaurant. We're going to get our meal. As soon as we get up to get our meal, he looks over at me, and he comes running over. Hey, you that notary because he's a notary too. And he's like, oh, yeah, man, I still notarize things. And people are like looking and everything. So my question is, because I think, and I was at a networking meeting yesterday, and people were talking about, we were going around the room introducing ourselves. We had a guy that was running for state senate, and state senate, a couple of attorneys, and I stood up and said, yes, I'm a notary, and people, a notary, oh my God, they just went crazy. What do you think sets the notary community apart from other professional communities? What do you think sets us apart?
Well, in some ways, I think we could be seen as an authority figure.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't wear a badge, that somebody could identify us as a notary. So when they understand that that's what we do, that we're a commissioned notary public, there's sometimes a lot of people have a lot of curiosity about, well, just what is it that you do?
Yeah. What is it that you do?
What kind of training did you have? Do you have to have a degree in being a notary public? I think it's just one of those one of these things of life that we need a notary when we need a notary, and we don't know all that much about notaries. So when you can have a conversation about what does a notary do, I consider it a nice opportunity, to share really and truly what we are and the service that we perform as and in the world of internet and doing everything remotely and everything else, to sit down with someone, to have eye to eye contact, to positively identify them. I mean, this is like real personal stuff that we don't get in life. And I kind of consider the notary as part of in that same field of people that you're close to that you're not related to, like your hairdresser. Okay, your hairdresser touches you, right?
Yeah.
Your massage there. Well, I don't know about you, then. Well, maybe the beard trim, whatever. Your physical therapist, there's your massage person, your nail person, your notary person, who's that notary person is going to know something about you just because of the document. I mean, if you're let's say you're notarizing or acknowledging their signature on any kind of an adoption paper or medical release form for the kids who are going to Mexico. I mean, that's personal information. And for somebody who's not, maybe not, who's might be a bad actor, on the other side of that notarial stamp, this is not good. So I think that we always just have to be upstanding, honest people who can somehow let the client know that that's who we are. Just by our language, just our body language, our staying within within my own lines here.
How do you balance? How do you maintain a work-life balance in this field, this demanding field? How do you maintain that, I think?
Well, I have to tell you that I didn't manage it for a long time. I probably am outing myself here, but there is a 12-step program for workaholics. Okay. Because at the height of the rush of being a notary signing agent, when you could do 8 or 9, you might get called to do 12 loan signings a day, but maybe all you could muster was to do 9. It was very hard, and I have to say that I really burned myself out a lot. I didn't manage my time properly. I would book something back to back with maybe no driving time or maybe 15 minutes of driving time. When I really needed 30, no lunch breaks, no breaks, no nothing. Oh, they want to sign at 9:30 at night? Sure, I can do that. So I have to tell you that I'm not a very good example of how to gracefully balance that work-life balance. Well, achieve the work-life balance, but I've gotten better with age. I'll say that. Gotten better with age because I realized that there's a life for me to live in addition to work, no matter what that work can be. So, I think that's about it. I don't like to just overschedule myself anymore. I don't have the appetite for that kind of adrenaline. That's what I want to say. Yeah.
That's very good. Don't have the appetite for that adrenaline. I know the feeling. I've had those 10 to 13 closings a day running around. Yes, I know exactly.
Yeah.
I feel your pain in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it is that adrenaline running
Yeah.
it's just, you feel so alive.
Yeah.
And when you have to step back from it, you feel flat, like,
Yeah.
ugh, this doesn't feel like my life.
Yeah.
Let me just make it a little more unmanageable. Yeah, I can take I can take that signing tonight or
Yeah.
6:30 in the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what does winning the March Fong Yu Award, what does it mean to you personally and professionally?
I am still in a state of shock and awe. I can tell you that because, going to the conferences for many, many years and seeing, is who is being awarded with that award.
Yeah.
And then to be told that I was selected, a notary, and for my product, I am so incredibly honored. And I don't know, sometimes I look in the mirror and I just remember that and I say, oh my God, you look kind of special.
You are.
Well, it's feeling special about myself is not something that, I can feel especially bad about myself very easily, but to feel that something that I did is making a difference in other people's lives. And I can't tell you how proud I am, when I go into a bank or a financial institution and they're using a notary privacy guard. I just think I feel so good about that. I feel so good about it. And I'm so glad that more and more people are using it and more clients are benefiting from it.
I can't tell you how much of an impact you, and I've never told you this, had on me and my business and the success of my business. So I want to just thank you here publicly from the bottom of my heart. You have had a very good, very positive impact on me and my business and my family. And I'm sure you have a positive impact on thousands of families out there in this country. So I thank you from all of us. And I just want to say congratulations again on being a March Fong Yu award winner. Anything else you want to leave the audience?
I do. I do. I do. I do. If any of you have an idea of how to do something better, how to make a product better, bringing a product out of your mind and into the three-dimensional world, do it. Just do it. Because the world is waiting for whatever is coming out of you that is going to improve the lives of yourself and other people. And you don't, to invent something is you using your God-given gifts as a creator. We are all creating all the time. That idea you have in your mind, bring it out. Turn it into 3Ds because the world is waiting for it. Good stuff it's all waiting for it. Waiting for you to bring that creation out of you and offer it to the world. And if you ever have any questions about, how do I go about this? I'm not an expert on how you go about it. I can just tell you what I did and how it worked out. And it's there's always I believe, some kind of divine energy in bringing a creation forward.
Yes. Yes, you are a shining example of that. So I
Thank
just
you,
want to thank
Daniel.
you again for just taking the opportunity to share your thoughts, your story with us today. And for all of our viewers, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe this podcast. We had the sensational Sandra St. Clair on here. Hopefully, we can get you back again, and hopefully, you'll see her again out maybe at the National Notary Association conferences, and you get a chance to talk to her directly. If you get that chance, you don't want to waste that chance. You definitely want to talk to her. She is what you call a brilliant. She has a brilliant business mind, and just authentically genuine person. You definitely don't want to miss having an opportunity to talk to her. So thank you so much for coming on this podcast. And hopefully we'll see everybody next week. Have a
Thank,
great day. Thank you, Sandra.
thank you, Daniel. Much love to you.
You too.